So I got a buttload of information about this assassination terrorist. So this assassination terrorist, this Vance Boelter, Vance Luther Boelter, 57-year-old Vance Luther Boelter, who is a MAGAt. He's a Christian nationalist. He is a fascist supporter. Let's take a look at this buttload of information that I just found out, and it was from KARE11. They did a really great update. So they had a video where they were at one of his houses. He doesn't just have one house that he stays at. He has a wife and 5 kids, but he also has another house, at least another house. Green Isle. He's got another home in Green Isle. But this home that they checked out, he has like 3 or 4 roommates, and he only stayed there a couple times a week. He worked at the morgue, and then he would sometimes bring the eyeballs of the dead people back to the house. He also was that preacher in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He was also some sort of employee, not just under Tim Walz's administration, but the previous administration. He voted for Trump. He had left the house at 6:30 in the morning, and the shootings had taken place 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m., somewhere around there. 2 a.m. is when the 911 call had come in from John Hoffman, which I heard lived in Chaplin, and then Melissa Hortman lived in Brooklyn Park. 3:35 is when they had the phone call about Melissa Hortman. So, I'm not for sure the order of the thing, but 2 different people were shot and killed. 2 people were shot and injured in 2 different homes. He shot and killed Melissa Horton and Mark. They're both dead. And then John Hoffman and Yvette, his wife, were shot, but they're looking like they're going to live. So he would work at the morgue. He would take the eyeballs home for research. He would go to Africa and preach about the stupid gays and the stupid transgender people. He had a list of Democrats that he was going to kill, also some abortion clinic people. So he is a fanatic when it comes to the abortion rights. He's a fanatic when it comes to homosexuality and transgendered rights. They talked to the roommate. The roommate, David Carlson, was his best friend since the 4th grade. Vance Boelter's best friend since the 4th grade is David Carlson. And they're acting like they're none the wiser, and in some respects I kind of believe them. The authorities had busted into the house. They busted into the window. They had, armored vehicles. A camera was there, battering ram, knocked the door down. So a lot of chaos. And the reporter came in after the scene, so no telling what information they took with them. They said that he was at the house at 6:30 a.m. So that means this motherfucker, this piece of shit right here that you're looking at, with looks like some brown teeth. He's got that pointy nose. He's got that Eddie Munster hairline, right? And kind of a weird face, weird head. And he is, the fucking culprit. Let's get another picture here. This picture of him in a cowboy hat. I'm not for sure if this particular picture was taken this morning, but him walking around with a cowboy hat was taken this morning. This one right here. So here he is, just, acting like some sort of weird badass, right? Some sort of fucking cowboy. Goddamn MAGA fucking cowboy. He also had a whole bunch of No Kings protest flyers in his vehicle. So he's a big Trump supporter, absolutely love MAGAt fascism. So he's a big, Christian nationalist, MAGAt fascism. He was targeting not only Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota, he had a list of other Democratic lawmakers, including Ilhan Omar and a whole bunch of people. So there was like a whole list. He's killing Democratic lawmakers. That's what he was aiming to do, Democratic lawmakers. Well, he was driving, he had 2 police-looking cruisers. One police cruiser was towed at the scene at either Hoffman or Hortman's house. And then they said that the car was there at his house, at the secondary house of the roommates. The passenger side window was broken. And they said that they didn't know any of this information, but that the Ring camera had notified them of him showing up. So 6:30 in the morning. That means this motherfucker, this Vance Boelter, goes and kills 2 people and goes and shoots 2 other people, has a shootout with the police, drives back to this, safe house with the roommates, and then he's there for a couple of hours maybe, had to do some final things, collect some final things, gets in presumably another vehicle, because the one cruiser was there at the house. They went ahead and, towed it. There was another cruiser that was at Hoffman's house. John Hoffman, I believed that they had took it too. So they've already towed 2 of his cars. This guy goes to the Democratic Republic of Congo. He's got this incredible, resume where he's, not just college educated, but he has like all these crazy world experiences. So I think it's entirely plausible that, maybe it's a lone nut. Maybe this isn't, some sort of big conspiracy, that a person could be such a wealthy middle-class American that they could have financed all this themselves. This was deliberated. This was planned and plotted out. Vance Boelter had texted his roommates a bunch of information. He texted his roommates that he was making a bunch of bad decisions and he may be gone for a while and he may be dead. So he realizes that he's risking all this stuff, and who knows why he's doing all this stuff. Suicidal, depression, sadness. He's working for a morgue, and then he told about his resume to people saying he wanted to learn this other stuff, so he's like getting more licenses and shit. Maybe he just isn't happy, Here he is, this Christian nationalist. When he was preaching in the Congo, he was getting excited about preaching in the Congo, and then, now he's got to work at the fucking morgue, So, maybe he feels demoted. He was working in the Tim Walz administration. He was working in the previous administration and in the Tim Walz administration. So he's a government worker of Minnesota. He was, let's see, they searched with the battering ram. David Carlson, his best friend. They said the Ring camera had captured the early morning visit. The roommates called 911. He lived there for a few days per week. Why does he have 2 houses? Does he have 3 or 4 houses? His vehicle was towed away. He wrote a book for the church. So what book is that? He wrote a book for the church. Which church is that? There's 3 or 4 roommates, 1 main roommate that they all paid rent to, that sort of all circled around him. It looked like they broke the living room window, but they said that living room window was actually where he had slept. That was his room. Picture of the cowboy hat was taken. The picture was taken after he had killed Melissa Hortman and Mark and John Hoffman and Yvette. Big Trump supporter, Christian nationalist, MAGAt, who was pissed off about the No King's Day. Hey, don't you call my Fuhrer a king. He's my Fuhrer. He's specifically targeting Democrats. Ilhan Omar was on the list, plus some other ones. This is an assassination terrorist. And then here's a incredible kicker. He killed, Melissa Hortman, and then he also shot this John Hoffman, and they're thinking that John Hoffman is going to live. They're thinking that John Hoffman is going to live. But if you take away those 2 Democrats, now the House in Minnesota has lost their Democratic majority. So this is political. This is an assassination terrorist who's doing who did a few, I guess, 1 political hit job and then another attempted political hit job. And he's out and about in the world right now, armed and dangerous. We should totally rely on each other. We should talk to each other. When it came to Gabby Petito, we were the ones that had found where Gabby Petito was. Then eventually the authorities, go in and take all the credit. But I think you should allow for American heroes. And you only got so many people that's dressed in uniforms. And then with the way that shit's turning out in California, is this going to be a red state versus blue state civil war? Is that what we're looking at right now? A red state versus blue state civil war? Is that what we're pushing towards? I hope not. Because I don't really like the Democrats. I think the Democrats are too fucking far right-wing. Joe Biden, his entire life, was just being a fucking status quo Joe. He was for the Iraq War, for segregation, for genocide. Old Genocide Joe. But in Minnesota, there were some Democrats that were actually pretty liberal when it came to health care and other things. So, what am I trying to say? I'm not for sure the Civil War would work with red state versus blue states, because you kind of have a mixture of liberals and conservatives in all the states. Both of the parties suck. I thought the Civil War might actually revolve around the legalization of marijuana, because who believes in the freedom of the individual? I thought conservatives believed in the freedom of the individual, but apparently not. So liberals also care about the community and the individual, and they think with their heart. And they want change. So then what the fuck is this MAGA movement? Just a bunch of right-wing terrorists, fascist fucking oppression, boot on their fucking necks, boot on their faces, boot on their heads forever and ever and ever? So there you go. There's some update about the Vance Boelter, still armed and dangerous, still running around America, free as a bird. You might just see him at a damn Arby's. Isn't that what that one guy in New York City went to fucking McDonald's? Might just go to a goddamn Taco Bell. You might see him at a rest area. There's some pictures circulating the internet where they got like a younger, thinner face. I think that you should actually show his olderness. He's 57 years old, right? You see the chubbiness, the fatness around his face. You see the, little gray area right there in his Eddie Munster fucking receding hairline. Sometimes he would wear a goatee. He had a mask. He was wearing a mask where he was bald at the time. So, fucking shit, man. Shit's fucking getting crazy.